Hi gang! In this tutorial I'm going to cover how to draw arrows for tech packs. So let's get started. Now whenever I draw a flat, I always like to keep it in the file with the template. It's really helpful if you need to make edits at a later date, and you can always turn off the visibility on the layer with the template. The other thing I do is lock the layer with the flat, and I always draw my arrows in a separate layer. That way, if I still need the flat for something without the arrows, it makes it very easy to select. So let's talk about how to draw arrows. I like to draw them with the pen tool. Some people do use the line segment tool, and that's fine also. To draw an arrow, you draw a line where you want the arrow to be. Then you're going to go to your properties, click on stroke, and decide the thickness of the stroke you like. I happen to like 0.5 for my arrows with round, round. Now to add the arrow head, you click down here on one of these two drop downs. So I happen to like arrow number 5, but you're welcome to select any arrow that you like. And we'll click 5 for this one too. We can also change the size of the arrowhead. So if I like the size at 100%, I'll leave it that way. But if not, I can make the arrowhead bigger just by scaling this up. So let's say we'll make the arrowhead 150%. And I'll do the same for the arrowhead on the other side so that they match. So there's my line with my two arrowheads. Now actually I do think that's large, so I'm going to go back and put it back to 100, which is my personal preference. But I wanted to show you how to change the sizes. The other thing you want to be aware of are these two icons here. The first icon extends the arrow tip beyond the length of the line segment. The second one ends the arrow tip at exactly the end of the line segment, and that's really the one you want. So you can draw your line segments exactly the right size and then add the arrows to them. To draw another arrow, again, I would grab the pen tool, click here, then click at the bottom of the sleeve. I can use my eyedropper tool and copy this arrow over to here. So that's one way to do it. And it's not a bad way, but there's actually a faster way. Once I have the arrow set up the way I'd like it, I can go over to my graphic styles, and you can find them by going up to Window and opening Graphic Styles. I've already got mine open. I'm going to click New while I have one of my arrows selected, and double click on the word graphic style and type arrow. Now I have an arrow graphic style. The next time I draw a path, I can just click on that button. So I'm going to go back to default just so you can see what I'm talking about. So let me go back to my pen tool, and we'll add one from high point shoulder down to the hemline. And all I have to do is click on the arrow button in my graphic styles. So I'll add a couple more here and zoom in and add one that goes from here to here. And I'll add one that goes from here to here. And we can click on our arrows and click on our graphic style. Now, what if you need to make an arrow that is showing that you want to measure around the circumference of something instead of straight across? So if I was measuring this and I put a line that went from here to here, and added my arrows, it would indicate that I want to just hold the ruler straight across from point to point. But what if I wanted to measure the circumference of the hemline? Well, then we can draw our arrow using the ellipse tool. So I'll grab my ellipse tool, and I'll start in the center of my shirt, and I'm going to hold the Alt key so it's going to draw from the center out. And I can make the ellipse as big or as narrow as I'd like it. And if I don't release the mouse, I can press the space bar and I can move this ellipse around while I'm drawing it. So I'm going to place it here and then release my mouse. With the white arrow, I'm going to select this anchor point on top and delete it so I have half an ellipse. And now if I click on my arrow graphic style, I've got a curved arrow. The next thing that I like to do is add letters or numbers for these arrows. And I prefer to do this on a new layer as well. So I'm going to lock my arrow layer, make a new layer so things don't move around, and these are going to be my letters. The way I find the fastest to do this is to grab the type tool and start by clicking where I want the first letter to be. And I'm going to do a capital X, which is what I always start with. Then you can take that letter and make it the color and size you like. So we'll go to Properties. I prefer Arial, so I'm drawing this in Arial. I want it to be 10 points, so I've got that set up, and I want my fill to be the same red as my arrows so everything matches. So we'll switch back to the Move tool and just move this into place. Grab the letter, hold the Alt key, and drag it into another location. Again, hold the Alt key and drag this into another location. Alt and drag, Alt and drag. And I find this to be the fastest way to place things. Once I get them all in place, then I can go around and change them to the correct letters. So now if I just double click, it will activate the letter. I set caps lock on my computer, and there's A. Double click on this one, change it to B. Double click, C. Double click, D. You get the idea, and I can work my way around. We'll do up to G here. And that's the way that I find to be the fastest and easiest. The reason for the separate layers is because if I need to put this in a tech pack, I can unlock all three, make a selection of everything, the flat, the arrows, and the letters, and copy and paste this onto my tech pack. But if I only need it for a line sheet, it's very simple to turn off the layers with the arrows and the letters and copy the flat to a line sheet. A little bonus arrow here just for fun. I draw a path and I curve it. And then I go to Properties, make sure the fill is none and the stroke is the color that I want and a really fat weight. So let's go with 20. I like round, round. And we're going to go and add an arrowhead to that. And I think it's this side based on the way I drew it. Let's do 5 again. You can see in this case the arrowhead is enormous. So I'm going to make it much, much smaller. But before I completely do that, I'm going to drop down to Profile and put this profile on it. Now I can make that arrowhead just a little bit smaller. I think it's still a little large. And I've got this cool arrow that goes fat to thin. You could even do it the other way around if you like. I can change the direction of this, make my arrowhead larger, and do a thin to fat looking arrow. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to click the little bell so you get notified each time I post a new video.